How's it going, guys? I hope you guys having a great week. So I'm back today with actually a gaming news related video. It is Gaming News Friday, guys. I want to try and pick up this series again in 2021 and try and sort of bring more of these news videos out to you, where we basically pick the biggest gaming news of the week and talk about it, give my thoughts and impressions on it, and just generally get a dialogue going. So this week I wanted to focus particularly on a massive piece of news that hit on Wednesday, which is that Disney have actually done a partnership with Ubisoft to produce a open world Star Wars title. Lucasfilm Games announced this in an exclusive Wired interview, and it's massive. This is huge news because, as we all know, Lucasfilm Games have actually done an exclusivity deal with EA, which is set to end in 2022. And a lot of people were wondering, whether or not that was going to continue. It's one of the biggest criticisms laid against Disney is the fact that these Star Wars franchise has for all intents and purposes been bottlenecked. And obviously, as we do know with EA, they do like to focus on their games as a service, even though that never works, and a lot of the games they do release are substandard and subpar, even though they have had two great Star Wars games recently, which was obviously Jedi Fallen Order at the end of 2019 and then also Star Wars Squadrons this year. It definitely goes without saying that EA have also produced some stinkers when it comes to the Star Wars franchise. The biggest one obviously being the Star Wars Battlefront 2 loot box fiasco that happened a couple of years ago, and the massive movement now to try and sort of categorize loot boxes as gambling and get them removed from games, or at least labeled more with an 18 rated, so that a lot of younger people and a lot of children are not taken advantage of. When we look at the FIFA series, I mean, it's a cash cow. It's just all about making money. We don't want to see Star Wars go that way. As you all know, I'm a massive Star Wars fan, so this news for me was like huge. Now, obviously, let's go through the article in a little bit more detail as to what was actually said and what we actually know. So it doesn't have an actual title for it at the moment, but we do know that it is being worked on by Ubisoft's massive entertainment team, and it's actually going to be directed by Julian Gerety. I don't know if I said that right, but he was basically the director for The Division 2 and The Crew, and the game is going to take advantage of Massive's Snowdrop engine. So this is pretty much being developed by the team that worked on The Division, and we know it's going to be a big open world title. Now, it's right at the beginning, obviously, of development. It's probably in pre-production, and we know that Ubisoft's Massive Entertainment have been sort of recruiting people to probably work on the project. So we are definitely quite a few years away from this game being even remotely ready to be released. Now, the fact that Ubisoft are working on it, I'm not overly excited about that prospect, because personally speaking, I feel that Ubisoft's open world format is a little bit tired. Even though I really enjoyed Assassin's Creed Valhalla and I thought they were trying to take the open world in a new interesting direction, I do feel that Ubisoft have become a little bit tired when it comes to their open world formula, their maps being cluttered with icons and having kind of lackluster, uninteresting collectibles and side content that just sort of hinders the overall experience. Watch Dogs Legion for me this year was just god awful. I really didn't enjoy it, and there's been a lot of other Ubisoft games. I even found The Division, really boring, and while The Division 2 was an improvement on The Division, I still couldn't really get fully into that. I just found a lot of the open world exploration really dull, a lot of the side content really dull, and I just didn't enjoy it. For me, Ubisoft no longer make the best open world. There are better developers out there that could work on this title. I would love to see Sucker Punch Productions work on the game. That's the team that obviously brought us Ghost of Tsushima, which has an amazing open world design, glorious open world, and does exploration in a really interesting way, and sort of discovery and exploration really interestingly. I also really love Guerrilla Games. I really enjoyed Horizon Zero Dawn and their open world, and so I'd like to see, other studios actually get hands-on and get a chance to create an open world title. Even Naughty Dog, I think, would do a really, really great job, particularly when it comes to characters and the story, and it could be really interesting. So I'm not overly excited about the fact that Ubisoft are making this open world. I will want to see, what kind of open world they're going to make. Obviously, we're talking about open world. If we are talking in the Star Wars franchise, then really what we should mean there is open galaxy, and the case of you can travel between planets, and that would be really, really, really cool. I am going to talk about what kind of Star Wars game I think they may make, or what I would like to see from an open Star Wars game, and I will talk about that shortly. But what I want to talk about is the fact that the reason I really love this news is not for what it means, now in the next couple of years with this Ubisoft title, but what it could mean for the future for Star Wars fans, because I think it is a very clear indication that Disney have realized that this maybe exclusivity deal with EA is no longer paying off, and are actually now starting to look at other development studios and working with other teams. I think even in the article, Sean Shoptor, the Senior Vice President of Global Games and Interactive Experiences at Disney, actually officially gave a statement, and he said that EA has been and will continue to be a very strategic and important partner for us. Obviously, they're talking about Disney now and going forward, but we did feel that there's room for others. And I think the latter end of that statement is really telling, in the fact that maybe Disney are not that happy with EA, and obviously they're wanting to give other studios the chance to tell interesting stories and create interesting experiences in the Star Wars franchise, because there's so much scope there, and I'm really happy to see that. I think the future, long-term future, is much better, is much more exciting for that. Because, of course, competition generally breeds better games. If you've got studios competing against each other within a particular franchise, I think that will force development studios to try and do something different, to try and innovate, not just to copy each other. And I think that's going to be really, really, really good for Star Wars and for Star Wars fans. Disney did also announce on Tuesday that Bethesda are actually working on another Lucasfilms property, which is a brand new Indiana Jones game, and that is probably going to be headed out by Todd Howard, who's just incredibly passionate about Indiana Jones and a massive Indiana Jones fan. I myself am a huge Indiana Jones fan, as well as a Star Wars fan, so I'm really excited at the prospect of an Indiana Jones game. We'll have to see what it's going to look like. Is it going to be a little bit like Uncharted, but obviously indie? Is it going to be a younger indie? Is he going to be a bit more older and a bit more seasoned? I'm really interested to see that. Is it going to be set during World War II? Are there going to be Nazis in there? Are there going to be mythical creatures? God, who knows? Hopefully there won't be aliens like there was in the last Indiana Jones film, which was just awful. But hopefully, it will be good. A few years ago, I would have been excited at the prospect of Bethesda working on an Indiana Jones game, but personally speaking, Bethesda are just not the studio that they used to be. They have come out with a couple of real stinkers. The two most recent that spring to mind are obviously Wolfenstein Youngblood, which was just god awful, and also Fallout 76, which was just a debacle. It was just shocking that the game was released in that state. And then the way that they continued to sort of market and develop on that with the pass that they brought out and chargeable content that had clearly been ripped out. Just disgusting business practices by Bethesda. So, it doesn't have me massively excited at the prospect of Bethesda working on the Indiana Jones. But again, the prospect for other development studios and companies to get involved and to pick up ideas and franchises, that does have me excited. So yeah, those are my thoughts generally on the news. Now, what kind of Star Wars game do I think it's going to be? What would I like to see, personally speaking? If it's open world, I would like the interplanetary travel to be a little bit on par with, say, No Man's Sky, where you do have that fluid travel between planets. I personally think that they are going to probably go down the route of The Mandalorian, because obviously That has been incredibly successful. It's been just hugely successful. It's effectively, I feel like it's the new Game of Thrones. Like, it's been kind of a cult hit. And I feel that Disney probably want to take advantage of that. So they may well be working with Ubisoft to create a kind of open world game where you sort of play as like a Mandalorian, maybe as a bounty hunter, where you have your own ship, maybe you have your own crew possibly, or you recruit people to your crew and you travel between planets doing different jobs maybe, and then obviously there will be an overall overarching story. Whether or not it will be set early in the history of Star Wars, when we still were in the heyday of the Jedi, whether it will be set in the darker periods between the Revenge of the Sith and also A New Hope, whether it's set between that as the Empire strengthens its hold on the galaxy, or whether it will be set after the Return of the Jedi. So it'll be really interesting to see, you know, what time period they choose to cover. I hope it's something new that we've never seen before. And that's why I kind of would be on board with going down the route of like the Mandalorian, like a bounty hunter. Because for me, every Star Wars game is one or the other. It's either you are a Jedi, you know, a la Jedi Fallen Order, or you are like a trooper, you know, and it's that kind of combat. And whether it's space battles or galactic battles, or whether it's, you know, on the ground and troopers, it always seems to be one or the other. So I think it would be really cool to see something brand new like that, where you get to play in the world of and the universe of Star Wars, but as a character that we haven't seen before, almost maybe like an anti-hero that becomes a hero possibly. I think that would be really, really cool, and I would really, really like to see it. Also, I mean, think about it. The Mandalorian could have so much scope for gameplay. I mean, if you take into consideration all the weapons that he has, if you want your melee combat, you could use the pole that he does have. You could also have like one of like the dark saber, so you could have kind of melee combat in that way. He obviously has ranged attacks with his missiles, obviously with his pistols. You do also have the wire or the grapple, which you can use to pull enemies towards you or get high up on places. And obviously you've got your jetpack as well. So it does give you so much scope for gameplay, which could just be really incredible. And then, of course, yeah, I absolutely would want it to be third person. I would not want it to be first person at all. So I think there's so much scope for an incredible open world Star Wars game. But I want a game that really does have its characters and its story at the heart. So I think an open world RPG is really more what I would like to see in a Star Wars game, where you have your main character, you have a story, you have maybe a crew on your ship that you get to know and you build a rapport with, and you build relationships up. You're traveling and exploring the galaxy and meeting different races and different contacts and doing different jobs. I would really, really like to see that. So that's the kind of Star Wars game personally that I would like to see. But yeah, I'm excited by the news that EA no longer have that exclusivity. If we actually think about it, I mean, this Ubisoft open world Star Wars game likely is not going to come out until after 2022, because it is really early days production. So, you know, if we look at it from a legal standpoint, then Disney really are not breaking any contracts there with EA, because they only agreed to a 10-year exclusivity deal, which does end in 2022. So from Disney's perspective, they're completely clear, legally speaking, and I'm very happy to hear that they're opening the door to other development teams to see what they're going to have, what they've got to offer, or what ideas they have. And that's just going to breed more innovation, and that's just generally going to be better for gamers and also for Star Wars fans. So those are my thoughts on the news. Those are my thoughts on this topic and what I'd like to see. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. What do you guys think of this news? What are your thoughts on Ubisoft's open world Star Wars game? What are your thoughts on Bethesda's Indiana Jones title? What are your thoughts on the future? And what kind of Star Wars game would you like to see Ubisoft produce? Who would you like to see actually develop a Star Wars game? Let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are. Let's get a conversation going. And obviously I'll be back again with more videos later on in the week, so please look forward to that. Don't forget to support the channel by liking, subscribing and following, and stay right here to see more gaming news content, and hopefully I'll be back again next Friday. Friday to talk about the biggest news of the week. So yeah, look forward to that. Anyway, hope you guys having a great week, of course. Take care, and as always, happy gaming. Bye, guys.